This is a religious organization weaponizing financial institutions to censor media.
This isn't just a gaming issue. This is about whether or not a few faceless executives from Visa or Mastercard can become the gatekeepers of culture, art, and all of the information that we consume. So apparently Visa and Mastercard are not just payment processors anymore. They're attempting to play world police. That's right, deciding what you're allowed to buy, watch, or support online. Take a minute and think about that. Not the government, not lawmakers, not your parents, the companies that are behind the plastic in your wallet. Right now, they're holding every gamer, every indie developer, and honestly, every digital creator hostage. Hundreds and maybe even thousands of adult video games have been removed on some of the most popular gaming websites. And exactly why did this happen? Because of an activist group from Australia putting pressure on Visa and Mastercard to remove the content that they find offensive. And apparently this group has put enough pressure on that they were able to make it happen. This group from Australia is known as Collective Shout. And they are a feminist movement out of Australia who don't like the way that women are being portrayed in some adult video games.
Girls, do you know there are nearly 500 video games where you could torture and rape women and girls on a gaming app called Steam? And major payment platforms like Visa were profiting off of it. Collective Shout took action and called out these credit card companies to stop enabling exploitation. Thanks to Collective Shout, almost all of these games have been pulled off of Steam. And Steam added a new policy which could prevent this type of content from being uploaded in the future. This is proof that when we speak up, we can create a safer world for women and girls. So come join our movement at Collective Shout if you want to get involved.
So I'm going to choose my words very, very carefully in this video. Because while I don't consider myself a feminist, I am all about women empowerment, and I see that as being two completely different things. Now, are there video games that exist that involve or allow the brutality of women and, as she mentioned, the rape of women? I'm sure that there are. I am not a gamer, so I have not played any games where I've seen this allowed myself. But the games that were removed, over 500 games, just on the Steam side alone, not all 500 of those games involved raping women and beating women. A lot of those games just simply sexualized women in a way that this feminist group didn't approve of. I'm talking about blurred scenes, maybe a little bit of pixelated nudity, any video game that depicted a woman in a way that they found unacceptable in their opinion. This feminist pressure group in Australia fired off a letter to Visa and Mastercard complaining about these games, some of which, probably a little weird, yeah, but they're completely legal. Next thing you know, these credit card companies are breathing down the necks of Valve and itch.io. Stitch and itch.io are not removing these games because they want to. It's because they're being forced by the people who control the money. And if you don't play ball, no more payments will be accepted from Visa or Mastercard. And you cannot buy anything on their website without a credit card. So now why exactly should we care about this? It's a nightmare scenario. If credit card companies can strong arm platforms to remove games, what's stopping them from banning books, art, political speech, or news articles? All it takes is a few angry emails, and Visa could tell Amazon or even YouTube, take it down, or no more payments. This isn't just a gaming issue. This is about whether or not a few faceless executives from Visa or Mastercard can become the gatekeepers of culture, art, and all of the information that we consume. It's about whether or not you actually own your spending power, or if it's just rented from a corporation that can turn it off the moment that you step out of line.
All right, so let's talk about this whole Collective Shout situation. Based on what I understand about the situation, Collective Shout is a religious institution who have been pressuring financial institutions like Visa and MasterCard to straight up deny transactions based on a bunch of things that they feel are morally reprehensible. But this is based on what I'm understanding about this whole fucking thing from other third-party sources like Mudahar and TikTok. And if you think this is a conversation about, oh, saving the Gooner games, shut your media literate ass up and take something fucking seriously for a second.
Yeah.
This is a religious organization weaponizing financial institutions to censor media. Point blank, period. That's fucking illegal. But I'm not some dumbass who's just going to point at this and say, hey, that's bad, and do some goddamn grandstanding. No, I'm going to give you, strangely enough, solutions on how to fucking fix this and challenge it. Crazy. What you're going to want to do is file a fucking complaint with the FRPB, the Consumer Financial Protections Bureau, against Visa and Mastercard for discriminatory practices. Someone's also going to need to start a petition, not to try and give the petition to MasterCard and Visa seeing, oh, look at all these people you're made angry. No, the reason for the petition is you are trying to see who will join you in a fucking class action lawsuit. Corporations and businesses are always going to find new ways to ignore their customers. That's why they invented customer service robots. No, what corporations actually listen to is a collective of individuals who are willing to fucking sue their ass. I said my piece.
Yeah.
Now it's time for you to do your part. Deuces.
It's true. Everything he said is true. And I'll put links down in the video description if you want to go do that.
Hey, Visa and MasterCard, I think there's a very important detail that you overlook. And quite frankly, I think you live under a rock if you don't already know about it. Because it's at the end of every video game commercial for the past however long I've been alive, almost the big 3-0. It's called a rating system.
Yep.
More specifically in the United States, it's called the ESRB rating system. And since Detroit Become Human is on that list that Collective Shout doesn't like, I'm going to show you that specific game. I don't have it yet, but I do have it pulled up on the PlayStation Store. See, there it is. Oh, look. Rated mature, recommended age 17 plus. It even informs the consumer of blood, intense violence, partial nudity, sexual themes, strong language, and use of drugs. OMG, what a useful tool in moderating your content. It's not the only game. Astral Chain, oh look, all the stuff it had. Dragon Age Inquisition, oh look, 17 plus, all the stuff it had. Viva Pinata, oh look.
What is the rating system for if not to warn the person about ready to play the game what is going to be in the game? That is exactly what it's for. So if you don't want nudity or violence in your game, you know before you play it. All you have to do is look at the rating. Something that I have noticed about the uproar coming from this entire situation is there are a lot of women that are actually very upset about this, because from what I understand and my beliefs, because of my own personal feelings, modern day women don't like feminist groups like Collective Shout speaking for them. I am one of those women. Collective Shout does not speak for me. Do I like that there are video games where men can brutalize women? No. Am I offended by the fact that most women in video games are portrayed in low-cut tops and shorty shorts? No. Only feminists with certain ideologies are offended by that, and newsflash, they are not the majority. People are upset about this not because dirty games are getting banned. People are upset about this because of the control that credit card companies are having over what we decide to spend our money on. I don't want to have what I can and cannot spend my money on dictated by a group that is offended for me.
Collective Shout attempting to deem different games as problematic or censor different video games that contain women suffering is not the feminist move that they claim it to be. It is inherently anti-feminist, because what game companies are going to do now is just straight up not put women in their games.
Yeah.
Because they don't want Collective Shout to come after them for putting a woman in their games who happens to get like punched once or something. It is not the feminist move they think it is.
Like I mentioned, it's not. And what she said is right. In order for these developers to continue developing, they're just going to do whatever they think they need to do to make sure that their games don't get banned. And if there are feminist groups that have a proven track record of putting enough pressure on a platform to get things removed, there's a track record there. We've seen it happen. The likelihood of it happening again is greater because it has happened. So that means that women will just get left out of games now. And in my opinion, that pushes feminism backwards. It's not gonna do what they think it's gonna do.
Hey, I'm sorry, there's a sudden update to the itch.io Collective Shout situation. Without warning anyone, without warning any developers, without making a mass announcement about policy changes to their site, itch.io has shadow banned any games that have the NSFW or adult or erotic tags, and have banned a bunch of developers from the platform with no warning, going along with Collective Shout's standards without having said a word to warn anyone who uses their platform for hosting. Like, what? Are you serious? Multiple developers are reporting that their stuff is no longer showing up in searches, especially if they make adult games, and also developers are talking about how they're just banned from the platform now. They're just gone. I'm hearing about all of this firsthand from people on Blue Sky, and this is just so disheartening. Without any warning, without any statement, at least Steam made a public statement and owned up to what they were doing. itch.io just totally capitulated. It's really fucked, actually.
They just did it silently, hoping that nobody would notice. People lost money. People got banned from their livelihoods quietly during the night. These platforms didn't even have the balls to make a statement and let people know it was going to happen. Artists are losing their income overnight. They had to remove thousands of games from search and some of them completely from the platform to avoid being cut off completely by Visa and Mastercard. That's not moderation, it's a corporate chokehold.
I've always held the belief that the end goal of all conservative movements and ideologies is the control over others. It's not enough that they get what they want, you have to live by their standards. If there's something you're consuming, like a movie or a video game, that they don't like, that they don't consume themselves, it's wrong and you can't have it. At least that's what Collective Shout thinks. Collective Shout is an Australian right-wing Christian feminist organization that has somehow convinced Visa and Mastercard to strong-arm gaming hosting platforms like Steam or itch.io to censor or just straight up remove games they deem as deviant. Maybe you think, oh, this doesn't apply to the stuff you like, this won't apply to you. Look at the stuff they see as a bannable offense. All depictions of urine, menstruation, diapers, being drunk, being drugged. How many games does that apply to? Batman Arkham, how many times has Batman been drugged? Being hypnotized, being mind controlled. That's like 50% of all games. Like, these are the same people who try to get Detroit Become Human ban. We can't let these people turn the internet into a fucking nanny state.
If we go back to that first video of the representative from Collective Shout telling everybody, hey, did you know that there are video games showing men brutalizing and graping women? We need to ban these games. She didn't mention that full list. Not every single game that was banned was women getting raped and beaten. They're seriously gonna ban Batman because Batman gets drugged? Do you see on that list that anything that involved diapers, video games that have diapers in them, had to be banned? Just because this one group wants to control and has their own ideologies that everybody else in the world should also believe. This is not good.
If you don't like censorship in games, just hang out with me for 1 minute here. Now, Steam had to remove about 100 adult games from their site to appease Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal, the payment processing people that they are beholden to. Now, out of that, there was a new petition that is actually aimed at Visa, MasterCard, PayPal to stop interfering with those types of games, and so they can have those games brought back to the platform. Now, this petition has gained about 35,000 plus signatures in the course of time. It's been about a week that this petition's been out, and they just want them to stop interfering, right? And these activist groups, as well as a Collective Shout, who are actually trying to get this kind of content removed. Now, whether you agree with it or not, I don't think censorship is a good thing in this case, and just remove these games outright. Essentially, no notice to these customers that wanted to play these types of games. Now, whether or not this petition actually goes anywhere, we don't know, because we could get 5 million signatures and they may never, even acknowledge its existence. I'm sure they'll be aware of it, but they just won't acknowledge it. Now, Steam hasn't said anything about it, and these payment processing holders haven't said anything about it either. But I feel like that may change soon, because Steam is very responsive to things like this going on their platform. But that is yet to be seen. So if they do say something, I'll try to let you know as soon as I can.
I will also link that down below. As long as the petition is still open, I'll link it and you can go sign it if you'd like to. This is about more than just adult games. It's about marginalized voices, queer creators, indie artists, anyone who pushes boundaries. They're fighting getting erased from the internet, not because of law, but by payment processors. It's about tech monopolies cozying up to financial monopolies to decide what we are allowed to read, experience, or play. If they get away with it, they won't stop there. Today, it's pixel art and text games. Tomorrow, it could be movies, music, ebooks, or even maybe your favorite YouTuber. Censorship is seriously something that worries me about being a content creator. These developers that were developing these games were censored overnight by pressure put on the platforms that they sell their product on because of the payment processors receiving a little bit too much push from an activist group.
The censorship being done by payment processors on Steam and itch.io is the kind of censorship that's going to bite everyone in the ass in the foreseeable future. In case you missed it, yesterday, essentially overnight, itch.io de-indexed all of their NSFW content on the platform, with many of the creators finding out after the fact, after the games are already being noticeably either removed completely or being removed from search and browse pages. For anyone who's been covering games or just pays attention to them, the statement that they released is going to make you feel a lot of deja vu, because it names payment processors and the anti-porn group Collective Shout once again in the decision-making process to make this broad swath action against NSFW games. What particularly sucked about this announcement, besides just the acknowledgement of more censorship occurring, is the fact that many devs, were having their games already delisted or just not showing up in search and browser pages hours before the announcement actually went out. If you want the vibes for this entire thing, I hyperlinked a few threads right now, but I'm about to get into it myself why I hate this. Well, I think so much of the larger impact of this thing lies in how nebulous the terms adult only and NSFW are and how much they actually end up cover. A brief note about adult games and games that contain sexually explicit content. Obviously, they're not for everyone. And if you go look at a lot of stuff that was even removed off of Steam, myself, I was like, I'm kind of want to clean my eyes after reading some of these titles. Not for me personally. But that does not at all negate the fact that outside of those kind of sexually explicit games that contain stuff that makes you go, ew, gross, there's a lot of other stuff that makes you go, ew, gross, but also helps people explore their sexuality and sexual preferences in a safe and consensual space free of judgment. Or if you are in an environment that is just not inclusive to who you are as an individual, persecution. It's also, at the end of the day, just kind of sex. If that's just not for you, it's just not going to be for you, but that's not a right for you to police the other way people produce art, even if it's just a commercial product that's up to them. Now, with that disclaimer out the way, I need to talk about the way in which NSFW and adult only are nebulous terms. They do not just include things that are sexually explicit content. They often end up interacting with a bunch of things that are just considered mature content. And a perfect example of this is the delisting of the game Consume Me. Consume Me is a game that's coming out in September in full, but has already kind of been around and won multiple awards already at independent game festivals. It is a semi-autobiographical narrative game that is focused on the developer's relationship with disordered eating that, most importantly to my point here, has nothing to do with sexual content. Or this game called Last Call from a developer who's been in the space for over a decade, according to their biography on Blue Sky, whose game features no sexual content and just focuses on surviving domestic violence. So no matter how you may personally feel about sexually explicit content being in games, the way that it is policed online and that these payment processors are pressuring these platforms, and the decision that the platform decided to listen to these payment processors in the first place, is causing genuine censorship to occur across multiple swaths of just older, mature topics.
Just because a video game is adult themed doesn't mean that it involves sex. It doesn't mean it has sexual content. It just means that it has adult themes. So the fact that Collective Shout is trying to say that putting the pressure on the credit card companies to get these games removed from the platforms, to say that it's about protecting women and how hypersexualized they are in adult games, they're just using that as a justification for this. Not all adult games are sexualizing women, but they're removed anyway. If you care about free speech, collective freedom, or simply being able to spend your money on whatever the hell you want, now is the time to get loud. Flood the comments, contact Visa, MasterCard, Steam, sign the petitions, share my video, because if we let credit card companies become the world's censors, we are all one click away from getting canceled. Thank you guys so much for being here. Don't forget, check out the video description. I will put all links, petitions, everything that is still open down in there. Voice your opinions down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about this. I am personally extremely concerned. Like I said, I am not a gamer. I do not play video games, but the fact that one activist group can put that kind of pressure on Visa and MasterCard can in turn put that pressure on a platform to control what they're selling. Otherwise, they threaten to pull the payment processors off of the platform and not process payments. That is absolutely terrifying to me, especially when that activist group has extremely conservative ideologies that they're trying to strong arm and force on everyone. I don't like it. I really hope that the word gets out. I hope that the petitions do something. Again, they're linked down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, remember to hit the thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you have not already. Ring the notification bell. That way you're notified whenever I post my next video. Thank you again so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.